Well, hello, folks. It has been too long. I don't know about you, but that corny open gave me butterflies in my tums. It is the Bucket Bros. We're back. Your host slash co-host, Bobby, and I guess Marsico. We can go last names. Do we know each other on a last name basis? Let's do it. And I got my host slash co-host here, Ronnie the Ron Dog West.
Hello, hello. Good to see everybody. Good to be back. Good to be back hooping.
Yeah, I haven't seen your face in months. I basically the last time I talked to you, I think everybody heard it. Everybody in the world was able to listen to our last conversation. So this is exciting. I'm glad to be back. How was your summer, sir?
Uh, Eventful. Just a few things happened. We got to move in. Moved about an hour south. We're at a new location. I now have studio space to expand on. This is the first podcast done in the new house, so we're excited about that. I can be as loud as I can be for the most part, since everyone is asleep much higher up above me, so that is good. But it's exciting. I'm happy to be here. We got sports on down here in the man cave. It's going to be a fun one. You guys are going to see all of this around me evolve and change. Yeah, so we're getting at it now. Finally,
See, I see you're down in the cat lair.
the cat lair.
You got a
Yes,
zoo. You got your
this is
zoo down
Chloe's
there.
apartment, so I have to pay her rent while I'm down here for studio space. It's pricey, so she's very yeah.
Well, as your studio's getting more glamorous, mine's getting darker and more secluded. As you know, I think I don't was this must have been true last time we talked or last time we had an episode. I've taken another one on, the
I
Family
think
Got
right at
one.
the very end, yeah, I think we had maybe two episodes that you had doubled up your daddy duties and had another one there.
So as a result, I no longer have a studio. I'm just hanging out in the dark in the kitchen like it's a big secret that what I'm doing. Like nobody can know about this. I got to be as quiet as possible or they'll come find me.
They will come find
Um,
you. At least one of them will
but
probably.
yeah, I'm gonna be honest though. I really enjoyed my summer. I enjoyed my time off, and then I was having second thoughts. But today I heard some very important words. I put on this shirt. If you guys can see it, I put on this shirt, and my son came up to me and said, "Dada, you're Michael Jordan." And I think those were the words that I needed to hear. That was the inspiration. It resonated so well with me. I said, you know what, son, you're right. I need to get back on the mic. I need to share with the world my basketball nerdiness.
You do. We're
More
glad.
people need to talk about the NBA and
Yeah,
forever and ever.
I think it's everyone has a niche as far as what they kind of fit into. We love basketball, and I think that's we want to share that with people and make more people kind of come in and let us know about different things that we don't know about and point out things. And we're here to learn and absorb from everybody. But I think it's we love this beautiful game that is basketball as well as soccer, but basketball that we're here to it is the other beautiful
Is
game.
that some foreshadowing of the next podcast?
Yeah. The I don't know what that one is. The PK buddies, the PK pals. So yeah, I think there's we want to be able to share what we know with more people that might not spotlight or see things the way that we do. I'm a
Which
former
may be less than you. It's not much. We may know less than you as
There's
the
probably
listeners.
a good chance if you've played significant amounts of basketball. I've played in high school. I think this is, I saw all of the Timberwolves players asked by their social media announcer, what's the highest point total in any level that you've scored? And I think it was like 56 by somebody was the most on the team. And for me, it's 32 points in a church league game is my career high. I hit a ton of threes and had a heat check, and that's about the highlight of my basketball career. I had 6 career varsity points. I was the top defender on the team. That was about it. So otherwise,
Did you steal the box score after that game from the scorekeeper and laminate it?
I
Is it
actually,
in the man cave as we speak?
unfortunately, it was lost at my previous excursion of events and moving. I had back in my day, we had to go to the newspaper and you would clip out the cutout of what you had done in the box score that they would post in the newspaper. So I'd find my name down there at the bottom west, 2 points. And so I had 3 of those clippings. But now those are lost and gone, but I'll find them somewhere.
Got it. Well,
I know 6 points is, it's not, if I really wanted to lie about 6 points, I think I would pick 7, maybe more than that.
It was 4, wasn't it? It was 4.
No, it was 6. It was 6. 2 layups and 2 free throws. I think like 2 out of 4 free throws.
So you gave a loose outline for us today, a series of prompts. Do you want to run through some of these prompts, what we could expect to be talking about today? And by the way, these prompts mean next to nothing. It's like the points in that show, Whose Line Is It Anyway? We're just throwing the prompts out there. We may stick to it. We may not. We may go off on a wild tangent that's way more important than anything else that we had planned to talk about. But what are we going to try to stick to today anyway?
So I think the first one that I tried to talk about was kind of division winners, but I liked your idea as far as kind of picking a play-in champ, because divisions don't really matter in basketball, really. Like, no one's talking about them too much. They're not as important as, I would say, probably even in the NHL. But I think we want to do predictions. This whole episode is going to be prediction based, since the season starts tomorrow or today, whenever I finally get this video posted. What predictions we have for division winners or in-season tournament, whatever tickles our fancy at the moment. I think picking a Final Four as far as the playoffs. I think an MVP prediction. I think, like I said, biggest surprise, maybe most improved player, somebody who was injured that you think is going to kind of make a big splash. Outside rookie. I think I picked rookie of the year outside of Cooper Flag. And then kind of your NBA champ. So again, kind of some loose predictions. We can kind of bounce around. I only said the divisions just to kind of, if we wanted to kind of do a full scope of the NBA, we could kind of go division by division if there's anybody that kind of pops. I already, after you said in-season tournament, I all of a sudden got some ideas. And so I've kind of got 2 teams that I think will end up being there. Is it in Vegas? Is that like having it in Vegas again?
No. I think they're moving back to.
They're doing NFL draft style, going to bounce it around.
Everything's going to be like standard home court, except for the final game.
The final game is usually on a neutral site, right?
Yes. Yeah. I think that's
it's the only game that doesn't count to the regular season.
Correct. It's more for glory. It should be a half game, like a. We probably talked about this already.
We did,
but I'll reiterate.
I like your idea of it's the tiebreaker. It's like the half game. It's the tie. It's the
tiebreaker of all tiebreakers. If you're in any tiebreaker situation, if you win the NBA in-season tournament, it's like if there's once again like 48 teams out west, then you're 48 and a half, and you get that secret little magic half game to break all tiebreakers. So I think that would be cool. I think it would spur a lot of people, because the money's one thing. I think the money means more for some guys on the roster than others, and just as a whole, some rosters than others.
Sure.
But yeah, I think it truly having like significant value in the win total, even though it doesn't necessarily count as a win, even though the stats don't matter. I think that would spur a lot more people to try a little bit harder. Not to say that they're not trying hard, because they are regular season games that do actually count. And I don't know if you remember correctly, but LeBron James has played in an in-season tournament final. So it's not like it's. I mean, if there's anybody who I would think to pick in the NBA who wouldn't take something like that seriously, that guy was trying to win it. Was it last year or the year before, the inaugural one? And
There's only
so yeah,
been the
so
one, right? Or has there been two?
two,
Okay.
yeah. So if there's anybody, who would be convincing that players are actually trying to win these games, then that would be it. That would be it. Um,
Time out.
well, I
Hold on.
yeah.
I have to, let me pause here.
And by the magic of editing, we're already back to you guys. And I actually, you had me second guessing. I had to confirm. I was like, oh man, maybe I'm just getting nervous in front of a mic here. But there has been two
Yeah. No,
in-season
you're right.
tournaments, and
Because
the
I
first one
remember.
was actually won by the Lakers against the Pacers, and that was sort of the that was sort of that like falling off point for them and Tyrese Halliburton 2 seasons ago, where he had this breakout first half of the season with Indiana, then had the hamstring pull, and then for about a whole calendar year, everybody was questioning who he was, inevitably leading to him being voted as the most overrated player in the NBA by NBA players, which then launched him into
Well, that's
motivated him
why the
anyway
Olympics.
into.
He rode the bench on the Olympics then.
That's right. That's right.
Season. So
But then this all culminates obviously with the Pacers making the finals last year in
yeah.
one of the better Cinderella stories. I mean, I guess we've had a couple heat runs recently, but this was another really solid one. Gosh, they almost won. That was crazy. What a crazy ending to the season. And yeah, and then the following in-season tournament was when the Bucks came and just stomped the Thunder, and then everybody was questioning their ability to perform in a playoff game before they finally won the championship that year. So or last year. So hats off to the Thunder, by the way. We never really got to give them their praise.
Yeah. No, you're true. That's true. We kind of faded away. We apologize. Busy. I think there was too much going on, but yeah, we really never got to wrap up the Thunder's kind of finish to the season.
Well, we left you guys wanting more, that's for sure. So launching into who do we think are going to be our contenders for the in-season tournament this year? It's not necessarily going to be who do you think is going to win the title this year. It makes it interesting because I feel like the playing field is much larger. There's a lot of, I feel like, middle tier teams that can stand out around that time of the season, and maybe even some younger guys that will take it very seriously.
Yep.
You said that you had a couple teams come to
Yeah.
mind. Who pops
No,
for you in
I
this
think
category?
kind of going off of what you just said, I think for me, it's teams coming off of injuries that kind of want to make a statement to start the season. And so for me, I think teams that might come out a little hot. And for me, for whatever reason, it's probably it's a team I was very high on last year. And unfortunately, they had a very bad run of injuries. They've kind of reloaded, much like my Timberwolves. But my Wolves didn't really have any big injuries like the Orlando Magic. I think from the East, I think the Magic are going to come out hot as long as everyone stays healthy. That is the key. I think just like I said before, that core of players is just too good. The Wagner brothers, Banchero, and everybody else. You've got Suggs is back, and I believe they brought in a free agent edition. I can't remember off the top of my head. They did have somebody else that I feel was a good fit for them. So yeah, so from the East, I'm picking the Magic, and from the West, I'm gonna go to the Dallas Mavericks. I think Kyrie coming back, AD being maybe if he loses a little bit of weight, and you've got Cooper Flag wanting to make a statement. I just, for whatever reason, I feel those two teams are going to want to come out and going to have some fast starts and probably will win some of these games in the early group sessions and will get themselves set up pretty nicely going into the in-season tournament. So, yeah. So I've got the Mavs versus the Magic. What are your thoughts?
Those are some pretty good picks. You actually took the Magic away from me, so I'm gonna think on my feet here a little bit. Actually, my second team, I was gonna pick two teams out east to win it. Um,
Is that
as my first
possible?
and second. Well, no. It'll be East versus West, but
Okay.
but
No
I was
cheating.
still gonna think that my two picks, my two best picks were gonna be both East teams, and the Magic was gonna be one of them, um, who would have had to beat the Cavs, who I believe. This is going to be, speaking of statement seasons, this is going to have to be a statement season for the Cavs. They got a big chip on their shoulder coming off a very, very disappointing exit to the playoffs. Second round exit 2 years in a row. Doesn't matter how many regular season win games they have, they seem to always be out at around the same time each year. Granted, injuries also contributed to that. They're also a team who's going to be coming off a lot of injuries, so similar themes here. But yeah, I think the East is theirs to lose, and I really, really like what I think what this team is going to look like, and especially for the first half of the season when the in-season tournament is taking place. I guess if I had to pick another team out west, um, I'm going to give this one up to the Golden State Warriors. I think.
Team
I
Unk.
think. Oh yeah, Team Unk. Um, I think
I
that they're
can
going
get
to
behind
be.
it.
I think they're going to be riding some of this momentum from last year. Obviously, they had the best close to the season out of any other team, and they were looking pretty solid in the playoffs until the Steph injury made the Minnesota series not so competitive. But again, assuming everybody stays healthy, I think that the squad, as they meld together a little bit more, they're going to want to show up in big games. And so, yeah, that's the match we're going to see. Cavs versus Warriors. Some superpowers out there.
Yeah, no, I think we did want to kind of highlight. I wanted to talk about the Cavs. I know just before we kind of jumped on, we kind of wanted to highlight some of the big deals that just happened. Hawks guard Dyson Daniels gets 4 years, $100 million deal. And I believe, yeah, Christian Braun also got a 5 year, $125 million extension. So some deals. There's been some big moves. I guess I kind of wanted to start with what I think is probably would fall not into my biggest surprise, but I feel like the biggest acquisition I think that we're going to see is there in Cleveland with Lonzo Ball kind of replacing Colin Sexton as the point guard there in Cleveland. I feel his fit. What didn't Sexton move on to the Hornets? I thought.
From the Jazz, you're a year removed from the Sexton trade from the Cavs. We got one for the blooper reel already.
That's it's too much movement. I just saw new players in a new space, so I saw some other thing just today. So, but in any case, I think Lonzo's Ball's fit there in Cleveland is going to be one that works well with that team. So, what were some of the other things that kind of popped as far as whether deals, new old faces in new places? What were some of the things from the offseason that kind of caught your attention and that jumped out at you? Aside from Wemby growing 2 inches and he's now listed at 7'5".
Yeah, no, I mean that may take the cake. Hold on, you got me blanking here because the deal for Lonzo Ball came with the Bulls. That's right. That's right. They offloaded Isaac Okoro um, to end up getting Lonzo Ball, which the Bulls kind of traded older for younger, and but definitely Cleveland got the more versatile player. I agree with you. I think it's going to work out. You saw some of those preseason highlights, and yeah, coming
He's
off the
looking good.
bench, I think he's gonna replace Ty Jerome very very well.
Wearing his number.
Yeah, there was another post on that. That's a questionably a bad luck number
Or good luck.
for or good luck
Kyrie
for
won a
Cleveland
championship in it.
fans.
So
Let's see. Otherwise, who is our biggest acquisition? You know, there's a couple that come to mind. I really think the Hawks acquiring Porzingis is going to give that team a whole new look.
not nah. Give Alexander Walker some love.
I mean,
I
well, so
he's going to be a big
on
piece
top
of
of
that.
that,
I think the Hawks are going to be good, though.
yeah, on top of that, they added to their depth. I mean, you know, I guess one of the unfortunate things that keeps the playing field a little bit level is that it essentially made it impossible for the T Wolves to sign Nikhil Alexander Walker. So big hit for them. I'm curious to see who steps up to fill those shoes and how they round out their roster in Minnesota. But coming back to Atlanta,
Yeah, we're over there. I got plenty of Wolves talk.
yeah, I
I'll
mean,
be
coming
in
back to
Atlanta on
Atlanta,
Thursday. I'll be in Atlanta on Thursday. I wish I could get in for a game though.
oh yeah, I wonder. I wonder if they're playing Thursday. I don't know. Whoever's not playing tomorrow. Probably everybody's playing on Wednesday. But yeah, that I mean, their depth again. Health is going to be a big part of this. We need Jalen Johnson to come back, looking into form. Dyson Daniels he's going to be feeling pretty good with that new extension. Zachary Reese-Shea in his second year, hopefully he's going to pop a little bit more. But and you know what? On top of it, like they already had. I mean, for them losing Clint Capella to the Rockets, that was like. I mean, that was an afterthought. With they already have Onyeka Okongwu there, who can even play alongside Porzingis. I don't know. I mean, they got a pretty stacked front court to the point where they got like guys who could play like the 3 or the 4, leaking into like the 2-3 position, and I mean, they got enough between their young guys and their veterans that team is really going to pop out east, especially. This is definitely their year. I hope they stay healthy. I would think, besides the Hawks, though, in terms of other acquisitions, I mean, this one's a no-brainer. But obviously, Kevin Durant that's a pretty big deal. That's going to change the look of the West. The only thing holding that one back is the very unfortunate injury of Freddie Van Alstar, Fred Van Fleet. I, yeah, I really wanted to see that team in full form, as they were on paper before the season started, and now they're going to just have, a very good player on a dead roster spot, essentially. Um, but, but as a result of that, I do think good things are going to come out of it. In particular, Amen Thompson is going to get a lot more minutes. He's, I imagine, going to essentially be their point guard for the
Yeah,
season.
because they're the
And
tallest lineup. Like he's the shortest one on the floor at 6'7". With this, is what I just wrote down before you even switched over. Was just the Rockets. It's like 6'11", 6'11", 6'11", 6'11", 6'7" is the point guard. Like, how are you gonna drive in the paint with that many arms?
I mean, even though Katie is what, like 37 years old now, I think that defense is going to be amazing. And you know, it,
How old is Steven
I'm gonna
Adams?
throw a big. What's that?
How old is Steven Adams? Steven Adams, how old is he? I
I
feel like he's in the same
I
range as
I
that, maybe a little
let
younger.
me look. He's on the other side of 30. I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
32,
has to
32 to be exact.
Okay, there you go.
Um, but I mean, the only other reason that maybe Amen Thompson wouldn't be the point guard is if Reed Shepherd really starts to come into form this year. I'm still a little bit low on that happening. I think that we'll see him get more minutes this year as a result of the roster changes that are going to have to occur. And you hear anyway. You hear from the experts that he's been really working hard to earn those minutes too. So I know that if we go back to some of our earliest podcasts, maybe even the first one, I think I predicted him as like the sneaky rookie of the year, and that fell apart real fast because he was only playing garbage time essentially for the first half of the season. But yeah, I'm hoping that we see the player that we were hoping to get this year. I hope that opportunity comes. But what I was gonna say was I'm gonna drop a big surprise here. I
Drop it.
think that I
Do it.
mean, there's obviously a more likely scenario that will occur, but I think with the roster as it's currently set up for the Rockets, that Amen Thompson's going to be the defensive player of the year this year. Now,
Okay.
obviously, Wemby is the heavy favorite, but if for whatever reason the Spurs stink this year, or I mean, I really hope Wemby doesn't get hurt. I hope he's healthy
Yeah,
for
it's
all
like
82.
even if the Spurs stink, I think he's going to win it if he stays healthy for the 80 games that he needs to play, or what is it, 66 games that he has to play. So
65, yeah. Well, but what if they're like what if they end up with like a mediocre defense, even if his on-offs are great and his box score stats are awesome, like what if they end up with as a team a mediocre defense and a mediocre record? I don't think that any self-respecting voter is gonna put their number one vote on Victor. He will get some first place votes if he plays well this season, no matter what, just because
even if
he is a
he's got,
defense unto himself. What's
even
that?
with the ridiculous stats that he was having last year, if those would have continued on, because it wasn't at like close to 4 blocks a game, he was getting steals, like 2 steals a game. So it's like, how do you compare that? Like Dyson Daniels was next, and it's like his stats were better than his. So I feel like if he would have played just enough games last year, he would have won it.
I mean, to throw Dyson Daniels in there, he had sort of an inflated sense of like who he was as a defender. I mean, he's a
No,
he's a good
yeah,
defender. He gets great numbers. He's the
it's not a
what was his
shutdown. He wasn't like a lockdown defender. He was,
I
I
mean,
don't want to say that stuffer, but he could get in the lanes when needed to kind of deflect balls and get, just because he was like he's 7 foot wingspan on him. So where you going?
right. And I'm not saying he's a bad defender. He's a good one-on-one defender. He's got a good motor.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think Amen Thompson is going to be the better version of Dyson Daniels on defense. There is this one preseason highlight that stands out. I realize it's one clip, but the
Preseason.
Rockets lost the ball on offense, and he was. I don't even remember if he was involved in the possession. He was all the way on the other baseline, and then they were on a fast break, and this dude comes out of nowhere. He like the Thompson brothers with their super smooth. Is that our new sponsor right there?
We're
Polar
trying to
Seltzer.
see him just, hey, Polar, you got a good drink. We'll see.
But there's but I mean with like him and his brother, just like the super smooth movements that they have, where it looks like they're doing it in slow motion, but they're running laps around everybody. He was moving. It's like when you watch a satellite in the sky and then an airplane, and you watch the satellite just like racing past the airplane. That's what he looked like chasing this ball down. He knocked it out of bounds. But I saw that play and I was like, we're gonna see that for like 32 minutes a game. If the Rockets end up being like a top two defense, I mean, as long as the Spurs aren't like, I don't know, a top 10, then I think people are gonna have a hard time not voting for him. I'm just throwing that out there because I think he's gonna be the engine. I really do.
Okay, but then what if well, I was going to say, what if the Grizzlies actually have a pretty decent year and Triple J all of a sudden gets back into the conversation. I think that's throws another.
Well, sure. I mean, well, Triple J is he gonna start this? Is he gonna start the year? Is he hurt right now? I gotta double check that. But I mean, yeah, throw out any solid defender out there who's won a defensive player of the year or been a first team year after year. Throw any guy out there as another potential candidate, sure. But I mean, Chet Holmgren, obviously, he's like the second odds-on favorite behind Wemby. There's a lot of good ones out there. I just I foresee, um, and Steve Nash actually said this on the Zach Lowe podcast recently. Which, by the way, I'm really looking forward to Steve Nash being behind a mic this year. The dude can talk in front of a mic. He's great. He's going to be awesome at this. He's going to be awesome in the media. But I think his abilities are just going to be highlighted. They're gonna stand out a lot. Again, Wemby most likely, but I foresee a universe where Amen just kind of runs away with it. Things just break right for him.
No, that's fine. I think I wanted to kind of we never really talked about this aside probably in meme form. But I'm curious to get your thoughts as I'm reading here on ESPN that the Aspiration co-founder pleads guilty to wire fraud about the Kawhi Leonard and the LA Clippers, Steve Ballmer, this money under the table as a part of his contract. What are your thoughts? What have you seen? I've kind of only seen the headlines and obviously just reading this piece. I haven't even clicked on the story. What have you looked into? What are you aware of that's more than just the average fan has kind of pieced apart or taken apart of this story
So I'm
from
gonna
the
be
summer?
honest. I haven't thought about this in at least like 3 weeks.
No, I know it's been a
So
while.
if the wire fraud thing is like a new piece of information, if there's like a new piece of information that is leaked out in that amount of time, then it's not in my building blocks of opinion on this matter. Um, but yeah, it looks pretty damn fishy. The the timing of this information coming out is, I think, also very unfortunate because it was kind of later in the off season, and it put a lot of pressure on the NBA to investigate and try to time their decision at when they felt it was appropriate. So, I mean, it's possible that the NBA has already interviewed everybody that they need to interview, already has, the a large enough collection of information that or enough that they have to make the decision, and they're just going to sit on it because what they don't want to do, I think, is punish Clippers fans just out of nowhere. Because I mean, yes, the Clippers front office is getting kind of hit upside their head, maybe blindsided. Maybe they shouldn't be blindsided, but kind of blindsided by this coming out. But it's not just them who's going to suffer. This organization doesn't just belong to the owners; it belongs to the fans too. And so, for an entire season to be spoiled by something that's not the fans' fault, I think any decision that they come to is not going to happen until the following off season. Give everybody some time to really digest what could happen. And I mean, the onus is on the Clippers and the people involved to give an alternate explanation. I know that that's not the first time that opinion has been shared, but there's just a lot of. Say that again.
Has Kawhi spoken on this at all?
Has Kawhi spoken about anything ever? Does the guy speak English? Does he speak any language? Does he know more than 3 words? We don't know. He's never said more than that. No,
Okay.
I think on media day he mentioned it. He basically just said like I never did anything that was against the rules. Um, and you know, a lot of the language that's being used from people out of the Clippers organization, like Steve Ballmer's like, we know the rules, they know the rules, without ever saying like, no, no, this never happened. Absolutely not. Here's what was really going on. I don't think that the NBA is going to ever come up with, the smoking gun, the email, the text message, the voicemail, the anything that directly ties the money that this organization received from the Clippers. What's their name again? I should know this by now.
Aspiration
Aspiration. That's right.
had signed a separate $28 million sponsorship deal with Clippers star Kawhi Leonard. This apparent him pleading guilty is apparent. It looks like some other filings that he's dealing with, and so I think that's how some of this paperwork became public. I know, was it Pablo Torre Finds Out was the one that kind of broke a lot of this. So I think from there, it's kind of taken on a life of its own. And yeah, it's kind of very curious to see. I think you made a really good point. I think this isn't something that we're going to hear about at all this season. This is going to be something that happens next season. As you were saying that, to me, it's like, this feels like it shouldn't just be the Clippers that take the fall in this. To me, Leonard has to have some sort of responsibility in this, in knowing he was taking this other deal to get this money kind of on the side. But yet I know so many, like you said, it's the language of these deals. And I think from what I had heard or had seen through social media posts, which obviously who knows what's true, was that there was certain language within the contract that if he left the Clippers for whatever, which I'm sure is in many different ones, but it just seemed odd that the way that it was worded was that it was specific to him coming on and re-signing or something along those lines, because he was already.
Yeah, from what I hear, you shouldn't put too much stock into that, because it's not unusual for star players to sign with sponsorships via their organization. So like, there's nothing fishy about that. Like a lot of times players and organizations will be a link to a sponsor, right? And then on top of that, because of
car
that
dealership
link,
nearby.
right? Yeah, because of that. Yeah, because of that link, there's usually language in there that says, like, if you're no longer a part of this team, then the deal no longer exists.
Okay.
That's actually quite common. So, but so sorry, what were we gonna say? I'm getting.
I was like, do we need to pause?
I thought for a second we did. It was just the dog. It was the dog running away. Maybe he's letting me know a tornado's coming. I don't know. Maybe I should pay attention. But no. You made an interesting point though, that if and when a punishment is decided upon, it would be kind of. It wouldn't be fair if the Clippers get penalized. The Lakers plus the Clippers. That's gonna be the Vegas team, the Lakers. But Las Vegas Lakers.
I love it.
And it's gonna be owned by Beeve Stalmer. And nobody's gonna see that one coming. Sorry. and wait, you don't want me to keep going with this? You don't want me to say Lawai Kennard is gonna play for that team? No. Oh. I'm just thinking of bad ways that they can continue to create fraud. Not to say that it did happen, because I don't think we will ever know 100% with 100% certainty that this is in fact what occurred. But obviously, it doesn't look good that Kawhi and his what is his uncle, whoever represents him, is known to ask for things that are off book, and that Ballmer has disgusting amounts of money and is able to utilize it in a way that could circumvent the salary cap and, do it a lot easier than perhaps a lot of other ownerships or a lot of other owners or ownership groups. And so a lot of fishy things here. It doesn't look good for the Clippers. I don't think we've heard anything to completely refute that this was not, in fact, salary cap circumvention. And I think there will be a punishment. I tend to favor that there's going to be a punishment that's going to create a lot of outrage in the league, in which case it'll be like a first-round pick or 2 seconds, and plus or minus a fine, a big fine to Kawhi and a bigger fine to Steve Ballmer. I don't think that Kawhi's contract is going to be nullified. But like what we were saying before, if it was, I guess the punishment is like, oh well, you lose out on that money. But then should he be allowed to sign with another team? Like, I mean, how shady is it if Kawhi and the Clippers get this penalty within their own relationship, but then suddenly he can like go play for the Warriors on a minimum? I mean, that seems more unfair to the rest of the league that this superstar player and somebody who's like a known playoff juggernaut can just suddenly becomes affordable to he automatically would become like the most sought after free agent, because like the world would be his oyster. So it would almost, I don't know, it would end up benefiting somebody else in the wrong way. And so I think they got to be careful with the way that they make a decision on this. But I do think that the Clippers and to some degree Kawhi will be penalized. I don't think it's the penalty that the other 29 ownership groups are looking for.
No, that makes a lot of sense. It's trying to find some way to me, it just feels like you players you're gonna try to find money wherever it's gonna be. So I can't like completely penalize him, but I guess if it's something where the owner's trying to skirt around the rules, but I think it's at the start of this, it's not fair to Clippers fans, I guess, but it's funny, like it kind of reminded me of the Houston Astros. It's like out of that, all of that, only the manager was the one that got in trouble for the bucket junk stuff that they did. But yeah, then there was like the stigma around them for a while. Do you feel like there's going to be like a Clipper stigma for their cheating, even though it feels like every other team is kind of doing this or probably is doing some sort of version of this. So to me, it's not where they're going to all of a sudden become like this evil villain team that's like trying to, because it's the Clippers. Like, I think that's part of it too. It's like, it'd be like, it's the Jets trying to do this and look what they've done. They haven't done anything with the whatever cheating. Like, I think that's what it's different about the Astros. They won the championship. And so I think the Clippers haven't done anything. So it's hard to vilify them when they've lost.
Well, and that's another thing that the NBA front office is going to have to like really consider is like how big of a can of worms do we want to open here? Because people have referenced Jalen Brunson, for example, taking a much lesser contract than what he was going to be eligible for. He missed out on a huge payday. I mean, we're talking like hundreds of millions of dollars to take a team friendly contract so that the Knicks can continue, building their juggernaut roster. And I mean, yes, do I think that the Clippers are going to be a little bit under the microscope, not just by NBA officials, but just other people in the media or just literally anybody in general? Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, it's like these big market franchises, these players do reap benefits for playing for them, other than what their contract says. And I'm not saying all of it's illegal or salary cap circumvention.
But there's more opportunities in those big cities. To me, if all of a sudden this was something where Utah Jazz and Pelicans players are all of a sudden like in talks of like these big who in New Orleans is doing this or who in Salt Lake, but yet to me, obviously there's plenty of opportunity like in those two markets in New York and LA. So I not every deal that these players make in these giant areas is going to be directly related to the owner of the basketball franchise. So that's where it's like I can give him some grace in that regard. But yeah, it's just it's curious as far as that goes.
I mean, unless they have a particularly rich owner or ownership group, I don't think other franchises are doing this or necessarily trying to get away with this. I'm not saying it's never happened, and I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I do think that this one's going to stand out a little bit because, in particular, just the amount of money it was for, and
Like
the term
from
and the and the terms of the deal, where it doesn't seem like he had to do anything. I mean, at the very least, if the guy had like a few social media posts, spent 5 seconds on a commercial, that was gonna play
Yeah.
before a YouTube video or something like that, then you could say like, well, okay, he was overpaid and that's fishy, but he showed up to work and earned this sponsorship deal. It's just the fact that there was, I mean, no services needed to be rendered for him to get the money. Seemingly, he denied that. Actually, Kawhi denied that to some degree. Again, it was kind of a backwards denial. It wasn't like a
One of them.
yeah. He's like, I wouldn't say that I didn't have to do anything. That's kind of the way he said it. But I don't know. It'll be up to the NBA league office to decide ultimately how this goes down. I think we're just gonna have to wait about it, forget about it for a little bit. I think the punishment is going to be underwhelming for anybody who doesn't like the Clippers, which right now is 29 ownership groups, and yeah, I think they're going to kind of get away with this one without severely compromising their future. But I think it's going to be a big slap on the wrist, and it's gonna it's gonna magnify the lens on the microscope a little bit. But again, it's what you don't want to do. Sorry, and this is the last thing I'll say, and then I'll stop. Um, what you don't want to do is penalize players from being able to make money. If too many of these deals, um, have like terms where it's like well, you can't pay the player until the NBA examines it first. One, that's a lot of work for somebody who that job sounds terrible to have to review every single
AI.
um, yeah, or AI, but yeah, that sounds like a terrible job to have to review every single sponsorship deal that goes down that could potentially connect someone to their team, um, in a way that's fishy, and yeah, and it discourages players from being able to make money outside of their contract. So, got to be careful with this one.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to say the other kind of big storyline kind of going into the season was rookie Cooper Flag, and the Dallas Mavericks managing to get that pick. I will say one that kind of jumps out. So
Fortune favors the bold.
yeah, and so I kind of wanted to kind of lead you on or let you kind of go on another tangent here. Within the last few weeks, I have all of a sudden seen a whole bunch of Zion Williamson content and how he's slimmed down. He's got contract stipulations as far as his weight goes. So my question to you is, who's going to have a bigger splash this year? Cooper Flag with the Mavericks and kind of making some headway for himself, or does Zion Williamson kind of come back and become this version of himself that we kind of all expected? Who is having a better season this year? Which number one pick?
That's a great question. And I'm being completely blindsided by this, by the way, folks. You are really putting me on the spot with this because we're comparing two different two different players, not necessarily types of players. I mean, Cooper Flag, I guess, would be the better point guard, Zion, the better power forward. But they both are like power forward type guys with guard skills, and one's a little shorter and more brute force, and one's a little taller and leaner, and but is potentially going to be well is I mean might be the better defender this year in his rookie season than Zion is. So who's going to make the bigger splash this year? Whew. Well, I'll tell you who's going to get more press, and it's definitely going to be Cooper Flag.
Oh yeah.
Um, the one thing holding Zion back is not his weight this time. It's his
Well,
team staying healthy. What were you gonna say? Was that a strip club joke?
no, I said it's not the Waffle House.
Yeah, not this time. Not this time around. I'm hoping that whoever Luca was teamed up with this summer, is partnering with whoever's helping out Zion, and he can
I
stay
need to
true
team up with whoever AD was hanging
to
out
his
with. He found
diet
that
and his
Dallas
exercise
barbecue.
regimen. Oh, is that right? Yeah, maybe AD's heading in the wrong direction. But yeah, I mean, the big thing for Zion is going to be like, what does his team look like? And I think the Mavs are going to outperform the Pelicans. And I think the greatest likelihood is that Cooper Flag is going to win the Rookie of the Year. And even if Zion has a great season and arguably a better season than Cooper Flag, I think Flag is going to be the one who makes the bigger quote splash or ends up having the more talked about season, not
There's like
just
more
this year,
headline.
but in retrospect. Yeah. So my pick is going to be Cooper Flag, not because I think he's going to be the better player. Zion's obviously a veteran. He has already shown that he can put up Shaq-like numbers in the paint when healthy. And yeah, I saw you look to the side. No. He put up a higher efficiency near the rim than
Yeah,
anybody since Shaq. And that was like 3 seasons ago, I think, when before he got hurt again. But yeah, again. So my final call is Zion's gonna have better numbers. Cooper Flag is gonna have better results.
all right. I think I probably would agree with you. I hope Zion stays healthy. I hope we see like a full season of him. He gets into the playoffs or like in the play in or whatever the Pelicans at. Like I think it's like you said, it's comes down to his team and kind of what do they all do and what's his motivation come the end of the season. So um, to me, it was a curious comparison just with two number one picks that seemed like they were both having something to prove this year. And so that's why I figured I'd ask that.
Not
Do
a
we want
terrible team in New Orleans. If they were out east, which they should be,
to?
but
Yeah.
if they were out east, then I think we would be talking about them a little bit differently. I'll just say that. Sorry, as you were.
Oh, you're good. I was going to say, is there any other predictions we want to jump around? Do we want to jump to the final four? Do we want to do MVP predictions? What were your thoughts?
Well, if we're gonna talk like who's our championship favorite, I think we would want to go like Eastern Conference Finals, Western Conference Finals, championship favorite, right?
That's
So
fine.
maybe we'll do our MVP pick first.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. I mean, I don't have anything spicy on this one. My pick is so boring. I really think. I mean, I could just say it. I'm not even gonna say hopefuls because I feel like I'm gonna steal yours. So I'm just gonna flat out and say I think
FBA.
this is a comeback year for Nikola.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, Jokic. Had he won the MVP last year, I don't think anybody would have been put up a big stink about it, right? Like him and Shea were neck and neck. It took Shea having like a Jordan-esque season for him to steal it away from Jokic in his statistically his best season. It took a 68 win. It took a guy on a 68 win squad to edge out a guy on a what was it 50 49. How many did they win last year? They won 50 on the dot. So if the Nuggets are as good, if not better. I think they'll be better this year than they were last year, and everybody's healthy. Then I mean, my pick is going to be Joker. I think he's going to be the same guy, if not better. Um, Actually, I don't know how you beat last season. I don't know how you get better than that. It's like the best offensive season we've ever seen anybody put up. So I don't know how you get better than that, but yeah,
Is
I,
he
I
in
mean
Denver the
he's
following year?
oh yeah.
He didn't sign an extension, did he?
No, but that's because the next extension, obviously the Nuggets are going to offer the
Oh, they'll give
extension
him
that's
everything.
lesser. Yeah, no. So the reason that they offer the extension, they offer this extension with a snarky grin on their face. It's because they know he's not going to take it, because what he was eligible for this past summer was tens of millions of dollars less than what he's eligible for next summer.
Okay.
So they're like, you want to take yeah, why not? Why not take it now? We'll take the money now, and he's going to be like, we'll talk to you
Okay.
next summer, guys. And
And of
yeah,
course,
I'll take the
yeah.
$70 million a year contract over the $62 million a year contract. Um, yeah, we'll talk next summer. But yeah, Nikola, we get the sense that Joker, like, and maybe he does. I wouldn't be surprised either way. Maybe he really doesn't take this very seriously and just wants to be at home with his horses. And once he retires at the age of like 34 or something like that, way earlier than everybody else, we'll never hear from him again. And that's possible. It wouldn't surprise me. But I genuinely think he's a big time competitor. I think he just kind of hides it well. And I think him being able to essentially double his lifetime earnings or so with his next contract extension is juicier than anybody could pass up. Nobody's going to say no to that. So, with the NBA salary cap rising, with him going, like, whatever contract he signs next is going to be the next richest contract before, Luka signs his next big one or whatever. It's like whatever next contract extension Joker signs is going to be the richest contract signed by anybody ever. So I don't think he's going to say no to it.
No,
sorry. Okay. MVP predictions. We're talking MVP, guys.
No, sorry, I hit you with another question on it. So you said MVP.
We can talk. We'll talk runners up soon, but I want to hear your pick first.
I'm going the Homer pick. I'm going Ant with him kind of getting conversations with Jordan. And I feel like he's going to emulate him and win the MVP this year. He's gone to the conference finals twice. He didn't lose to the Pistons 2 times in a row, but kind of has that same feel. So I feel he's taking that next level. Yes, we lost Alexander Walker, but Terrence Shannon Jr., there's lots of other guys. Dillingham, I think, is going to make a step up this year and have more playing time. Probably with a little less Mike Conley. So we'll get into more T-Wolves stuff. I just think this team is reloaded for him. I think he's set up. I think he's hungry. He saw Shade last year kind of get one, and it's like, hey, I think he always compares himself to him, and so it's time for him to kind of like, I got to step up and work in the high post game and doing different stuff. I think is going to be a new level to his game, especially if he does it in the same way that he does the way he took the three-pointer last year and emulated, became the best three-point shooter in the league last year, the most three-point shooters, 3 points made. I think he's going to revitalize his game into another step and take that next step to the MVP.
It's funny you say that because one of my hot takes, my biggest surprise, which wouldn't have been that big a surprise because he was second team last year, but I was going to say that I think Ant is going to be a convincing first team All-NBA player this year. I wasn't going to say MVP, which would make him like top 3 or top 5 MVP voting, but yeah, I was going to say that my big take was that he was going to be a convincing first team All-NBA player.
Boom. Dagger take.
So you definitely took that one away from me. And it's funny you mentioned, and I was thinking about this guy earlier, but you mentioned Rob Dillingham. I kind of think of him as like on the same tier as Reed Shepherd in terms of like point guards who haven't gotten the minutes yet, but would love to see super, super talented guys trapped in a 6'2" skinny frame. And that's really the only thing that's keeping them from getting on the court right away. Yeah. And but I mean, when you watch them like individually, like what they can do with the basketball, it's insane. It's insane how talented these guys are. So I really hope that there is some lineup configuration that allows us to see more of him. So that will be very, very interesting. Well, yeah. There was another item on the list. Oh, sorry, did you want to add something else?
No. What's the other item that you had on the list?
Well, there was another item before we get to Eastern Conference, Western Conference Finals prediction, but you said this was your idea, but name a rookie of the year that isn't named Cooper Flagg.
I was hoping that you would do that because
I will gladly rant on this. I will gladly set myself up. Oh, what's that, Bobby? You want this?
This was a Bobby.
I'll take that one.
That was definitely a Bobby-centric segment.
I'll take that one into the ground. Okay, I will say this with I already mentioned at the top of the episode that I really enjoyed my off season, and that involved not really watching any summer league or preseason other than a little here, a little there. It's a highlights league, right? According to Adam Silver. So I was gonna say, going down the list here. Let me pull up. Who was picked this year. 25 NBA draft, and I'm not going to go too far. I'm not going to go too far down the list. I kind of scanned this earlier, but I'll start naming some runner-ups here first. One, let's see, Cedric Coward, who is going to be on Memphis's deep roster, I think is going to be a really good player. I don't think he's going to necessarily see enough light of day for us to call him rookie of the year, but he's going to be a super well-rounded player. He's like a 6'7" forward who could do just about anything, long wingspan. I think he's going to be a great defensive player in this league. I just wanted to say that real quick. I mean, certainly you can throw out like is Derek Queen out of New Orleans? Is he gonna be like this awesome man in the middle out there? He might get enough playing time for us to really look at him. Same thing with Young Hansen, who ended up going to Portland a lot earlier in the draft than people predicted, which I think was a very Portland pick. But going up the list a little bit, I think some guys that really are going to make us think twice about putting that first vote on Cooper Flagg, who is the runaway favorite here. I will say this: two guards who I really like, and so did the 76ers and Spurs as they went second and third in the draft respectively, are VJ Edgecombe, who is a really solid player, who I guess to his benefit for his career growth is going to be behind a loaded backcourt this year on the Sixers, since that seems to be the only. I can't even say that. I was going to say the only player who could stay on the court for them, but I can't even say that. As McCain went out last year, but yeah, they're too stacked back there. I also like Dylan Harper, who different city, same problem. The dude is electric. He's really good with the ball. He seems like a guy who's going to be a great pairing with Wembanyama. I mean, with very small sample sizes, you saw some highlights of lobs going to Wemby coming from off of Dylan Harper's hands, but again, it's too loaded of a backcourt, and the already existent backcourt is going to look for their time to shine this year for the Spurs. So then that brings us to my other top two in terms of rookie of the year, guys who I think are really talented, who are going to get chances. One of them, Ace Bailey, who went number 5 to the Jazz, famously pre-draft was trying to pick his team of where he wanted to go, and is a guy who, in a year without like as well-rounded of talent that was coming out of the draft this year, is a type of guy. He's a prototype for like a number 1 pick. He's a really good scorer for his size. Particularly, he's got an amazing shooting form for a guy. I think he's like 6'7.5" was his official height coming into the NBA. But he has the opportunity to be one of the best off-ball scorers in the league. Essentially, be like a 6'8" Klay Thompson. I mean, just the way the shot comes off of his hand is silky smooth, and he seems like he can do it from just about anywhere. So for him being on the Jazz this year, who I believe are going to be a very, very bad team, is going to give him the runway to get a lot of playing time. It's just going to be a matter of, does he have a primary ball handler, a primary playmaker who's going to make him look good? If so, he could be the top scorer amongst rookies this year, I think, pretty easily. I do think that his 3-point efficiency, based on where it is now, is going to have to creep up a little bit. But I also think that teams, once they realize the kid could score, are going to do just some veteran stuff and make it really, really hard for him to get his looks. And he's going to have to try to overcome that. So there's going to be some dry spells this year too. But he definitely got really excited playing against one of his idols, Kevin Durant, and the Houston Rockets this preseason, and turned up for that game. And I think we're just going to see a lot of moments like that But a player who's not as flashy, but I think more well-rounded than him coming into the NBA is Concanopoulos, who was the number 4 pick going to Charlotte, coming to Charlotte, baby. And Khan is he's like listed at 6'5". You know, there's nothing like crazy athletic. He doesn't have like amazing dimensions with the wingspan, but he's a silky shooter. He's great with the ball in his hands, and he does really, really well off ball. He's a good post player for his size and his position, and he's really good at passing out of the post. He's really patient with the ball. He's the kind of guy who could play alongside LaMelo and still have like a really, really prominent role for that team. So, I mean, there's a chance that he plays like more like Cooper Flag than Cooper Flag does this year, and ends up being, you know, like sort of the 6'5" version of him, and um, you know, just is a guy who's putting up like 14, 15 a game with like 4 or 5 assists, 6 rebounds, just kind of do it and all, and obviously getting the playing time on what seems to be a pretty hapless Charlotte Hornets thus far. Who knows? Maybe they pop this year. Maybe this is their year to show up. But yeah, I think those two guys, Ace Bailey and Concanupal, um, I think are the two players who could steal the Rookie of the Year from Cooper Flag.
Nice. No, I like it. One last thing before we jump into finals predictions or Eastern Conference finals predictions. I did notice here, just looking at ESPN scroll, there's quite a few injuries that have kind of popped up. J-Dub with the Thunder, he's got a wrist issue. Ty Jerome and Kobe White both have calf strains and are dealing with that. What are some of the things that I think every year we kind of notice these injuries that kind of pop up, whether it's hamstrings, calf strains, abdominal tweaks? Why is it that these things kind of pop up? Is it something that obviously re-aggravating? I think it's something we notice with most sports as the season begins. There's all of these less what do they call soft tissue injuries, I think is what they say. You're the one that's much more
sure. Yeah, that's the broad category. Yeah. Soft tissue.
So versus like breaks or full on, like, just to me it seems more like there's more muscle pulls and stuff versus like ankle and knee injuries at the start of the season. There's usually a couple, but I feel like those ones are more down the road when it's all of a sudden something because of wear and tear, all of a sudden there's a bigger injury. And I know I'm throwing you on the spot with this one as well, but I think we may have talked about it a little bit at the beginning of last season too. And whether it's to anybody that's starting off, whether with basketball kind of approaching for younger players, what are some things to kind of be aware of as far as injury, to kind of not injury proof, because injuries are going to happen and there's no way to kind of prevent against everything, but what are some of the things that kind of happen or that you notice or see injury wise with some of these injuries at the beginning of the year? That was a crazy.
Well, a lot of these. Well, I'll try to answer as best I can. But a lot of these off-season injuries kind of baffle me a little bit because, yeah, you don't really know the story, right? When you see these injuries happening on court, you kind of get a sense of what happened and why they're hurt and why they're out, and you know, especially the ones that happen later in the season where these guys have thrown a ton of miles on themselves to that point. But these off-season ones kind of baffle me because you don't really get the full story. So it's either a testament of how hard these guys are really working in the off-season or how much they're screwing around in the off-season. Because, you know, you don't actually know, like, was it a basketball-related injury or were they like playing pickup football with their friends and just did something stupid, right? Were they did they go skiing in the Alps and it was the first time, you know? Did they or did they not take the early portion of their offseason seriously enough in their conditioning and then try to ramp up too fast and you know, there you go, now you got a strain. You know, you did mention like lingering old injuries become an issue, and it is weird to me how some of these lingering injuries from the previous season, you won't really hear about them taking the next step in their rehab or getting that surgery until like a month before the next season starts. I'm like, why didn't you do that stuff on day one? But you know what? Maybe it's a process, and maybe it really took that long to come to that decision. I can't say. I don't know. But in terms of
They already had a
the
trip planned,
seeming, the seeming, what's that? Oh yeah, yeah, exactly.
off-season
Yeah.
trip.
They're or maybe their surgeon had a vacation plan,
That
but
too.
but they were actually there in Germany together. If their surgeon was just credentialed to practice in Germany, they would have just gotten the surgery there. But no, the but in terms of like the seemingly like ramp up in these like soft tissue injuries, these muscle strains and stuff that we're seeing, or Achilles tears for that matter, um, I think it really plays to how the NBA game has been changing in this pace and space era. You know, and it's clearly it's not all small ball. Now everybody's got a center or two, and we're hearing about a lot of double big lineups that we've seen recently and are probably going to see this upcoming season. And yet still these guys are playing farther apart from the hoop than they ever have, and the number of possessions and time of possession is it's a lot more possessions, smaller time of possession. I think overall across the league, than we've seen, and maybe we're starting to see some of this plateau, but the demand coming out of these guys, the demand coming out of the players, has just kind of been like steadily increasing as time has gone on, and it's because at the end of the day, like any professional league is a numbers game, and when you find the equation that works, the math equation that works, everybody has to start to play in that style if that's what puts the most points on the board. And so I think there's a lot of great athletes in the NBA. I think it's still catching up to this style, and so what we're seeing is
Yep.
is guys who I don't want to say they necessarily can't handle it, because these are like well conditioned athletes, and I mean all of them kick my ass, that's for sure. But I mean they're just, it's like they're running marathons all season long, and eventually some of that's going to catch up to you, and some of it may seem like, oh, my legs just feel a little heavy, and then that's the day you get hurt. It's like you just happen to move incorrectly on the wrong day, and that's all it took, just one little tweak, right? So in terms of like injury prevention, I would say things to focus on, obviously overall conditioning, and making sure that you can keep up with the workload that your sport demands. But strength training cannot be underestimated, and doing it in a smart way, especially if you're a younger guy. If you're 14, I don't want to see you trying to squat 2 plates. That's not safe. But as you get a little bit older, move up from like body weight to kettlebells to real weights, and then a lot of these NBA players, I'm not saying that they've never made it in the weight room, but the amount of weight training that they're going to have to do in their now professional career is probably far and above what they've ever had to do their entire life. And
Well, I was going to say, to
the
jump in,
early,
when I was watching the Windy City Bulls after the game, I was so surprised at how many of the players were lifting post game. Like, that to me wasn't something I don't. And granted, they had the facilities right there after a game. I just don't remember doing that in high school. And I don't know if that's something that is good for the high school player or the high school body. To me, it was just something that jumped out because, one, they're professional basketball players, and this was kind of like you said, they're doing more than what I would assume some regular baller is doing, even if they think they're at the gym working out too. So, sorry to jump in. That was just something I was like, I was very surprised to see just the amount of weight training there, because I know that they were doing morning sessions, other things of just they're getting it in after the game as well.
yeah, no, I wish I knew more about that. That's actually really impressive. That's like the stuff that you see on like a Ben Wallace commercial, right after the game. He's at the bench pressing. I don't know. I don't remember what he was promoting in that
Cool
commercial, but
down
that's what
rep.
I think about. Yeah, yeah. No, no. I mean, and you got to think too, like the workouts that these guys try to get themselves accustomed to. the whole point is to make the workout that you get from playing a game essentially easy, right? And so
Yeah.
maybe they look at the game as like a bit of a warm up, and they're like, all right, well, this is my lifting cool down that I would normally be doing on any other workout day, except the first portion of it, the warm up portion that you got to witness, was on TV, right?
Yeah.
And like this is how it actually works for me. So it's kind of cool that you got to witness that, but. I don't know, maybe there is some benefit to hitting the weights post game. That's something that you should definitely ask a seasoned trainer who would give you a better answer than me. But
We'll try to get one on. I know we promised that last year. We only had one interview of a former player, so I will do much more investigating, and we will have many more guests. I promise.
Well, and the second point I wanted to make too is working through range of motion cannot be underestimated. This is something I wish I did at a younger age. I was so focused, personally on just like trying to pack on muscle and lift the most weights that I possibly could without really appreciating yoga's a good place to start to, or a thing to incorporate, but there really is something to be said. I mean, if you're doing it appropriately, you're almost doing like yoga type movements but in like lifting form. And that's something you got to build up to. I think I saw this one video recently of Paulo Banchero just like going through a stretch routine, and he was casually throwing around some good stretches. This man, he's like 6'10". He has legs that probably come up to my shoulders, and he was moving his hips in a way that mine would immediately dislocate. I couldn't believe what I was watching. And this guy is young too. And so just to think that he's only a handful of years into his career and he's already able to do this stuff, which means that he's been taking it seriously for that long. So
which means you got to
to
start
see
somewhere. And that's the thing. Don't overdo it to start thinking that you have to do those extreme stuff if you haven't done anything to start with.
Yeah.
Start with
Yeah,
something
just
basic and then work your way up.
appreciate the movements and um, just sort of approach it cautiously, but at the same time, with very goal oriented, with knowing that you're going to build up. Anyway, I'm not a trainer, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. But yeah, it is quite the phenomenon that we've been seeing with some of these injuries.
Yeah. No, you know how to take care of your body, and you know the body better than most people. So, all right, let's get into some predictions then. Do you want to start east or west? Which side do you want to start? How do you want to do this?
Let's start
I gotta get
out
stretched.
west because I'm gonna say let's start out west because I think it's gonna be less exciting. I think it's gonna be less exciting.
Okay. Me first, you first.
You go ahead.
All right. My picks aren't that exciting. One, I'm a homer, and I feel it's going to be a repeat of last year. I think it's going to be Minnesota, OKC, except this year, like I said, I think Ant's taking the step. He just needs to beat Shea in the conference final. Not too like not crazy to me. I feel like it's just the way that it's going to shake out. That's the mountain he needs to cross is to go through the Thunder. It'll probably have Jokic in the second round, and we'll probably play LeBron again in the first round. And that's kind of how I see it with the way the Timberwolves. They're going to have to keep going through every that they keep showing Ant with like the ring of legends, but he's going to have to beat them all in a row this year and do it versus just beating them all sporadically. Do it all in one season at once. Let's go on a Dirk style run and just take everybody out.
I mean, honestly, you calling that a boring answer. It's only boring because it's coming from a Minnesota fan, but that's a hot take. That's a hot take. I feel like the Timberwolves, they have
Minnesota 3 years in a row.
I guess, but I mean, Minnesota is them going to the conference finals would definitely 3 years in a row would definitely justify the Rudy Gobert trade. Not that it hasn't already. 2 years is pretty impressive, but they're a thinner team this year than they were last year, and so
I disagree.
A lot of the weight.
What's thinner?
The continuity helps, but what makes you think? I mean, well, losing Nikhil Alexander Walker was, that was a big hit for them.
Who else did they lose?
Nobody big, but I
Exactly.
mean
And
that's the most that's like the most valuable position in the NBA that he was filling for them, being like a an athletic, defensive minded kind of all around wing player. That's a highly coveted position. That was a tough loss for them.
I think I agree it was a tough loss. I just feel they've got some young depth that can start to fill in for that. So we'll see. It's
I
going to
hope
be,
you're right. I really do.
oh,
That would
yeah.
be super interesting.
From what I've seen, I feel like there's lots of potential. They just need time on the floor. And so we'll see. I'm excited. But this is that's I got Minnesota, OKC in the West.
All right. Well, I'm keeping with OKC, and I'm gonna go ahead and say that the Nuggets won't get a second round matchup with them, and will therefore face them in the Western Conference Finals.
Sure, son.
And as the only team out west that I feel like is the true contender against OKC right now. There's some other guys who are kind of hanging out in that like towards the end of that second tier or third tier out west, but yeah, to me the Nuggets, I think they got a little bit better. They got more depth. Jokic has a backup center, like a legit backup center for the first time ever in his career. But this will be like the first time Jokic's backup center isn't like the 50th best center in the league. It's like maybe worse. In fact, they assuming that like all 30 teams could have the like all the first best centers and the second best centers spread amongst them, he may have had his backup center be like 65th or plus,
Well, that
like year
fits
after year
because
after
he's the
year.
best center in like the last 30 years or something since Shaq.
Yeah,
So
but the team falls apart every time he's off the floor, and that shouldn't happen. Not to the degree it does anyway. So, but yeah, I mean, not a super sexy pick. I realize this, but I'm sticking to it. Obviously, some other contenders would be the Rockets. Even Sans Van Fleet, they're a very interesting team, and there's a good chance that they try at least to fill his shoes. If things maybe are looking a little stale out there, with some sort of trade, with which they'd have to chip away at their depth in order to do that. But it's possible. It's possible. The Lakers certainly are with Slim Doncic and LeBron in his final year in the NBA. I'm sorry, that was a hot take there. LeBron, that's a big surprise. I think this is going to be LeBron's final year.
I we'll see. I don't think because it's funny that we last year we had talked about like after the Olympics. I think we have to revisit that same conversation of who do you think is playing the longest, Steph, LeBron, or KD? Like, are they all going to be there for the Olympics the next time around? Even though we felt like they were going away, it's like
I almost hope not. I mean, it's possible, but I almost hope not. I like want to see the next round of guys.
well, yeah, I do too. Like, who's going to step up? Like, and it's just, do you think that all three of them will still be playing? What is that in 2028?
I'm trying to
So
think
I feel like
if
they're all will be north of 40.
anybody is anybody even under contract to that point yet? I don't think so. I don't think any of those three players is under contract to that year. I think they all their contracts either this year or next year fall off. Um, but or was Katie's 2 year extension him waiving his player option and then getting 2 years, or is he
That's a huge
extending off the player option? I'd have to double check that. I only just heard about this extension, so I don't know a lot of details about it. I do know that he took a pay cut, or what he could have gotten off of what he could have gotten to be more team friendly, which honestly is probably more appropriate for what his production is going to be after this year. But yeah. Anyway, we went off on a heck of a tangent there, but I mean, we've never seen LeBron finish out a contract before. This is the first time he's ever taken the final year of his contract.
no.
What else is he doing if not retiring? I mean, I feel like I've seen LeBron in the media enough to agree with the mindset that he is somebody who wants like a farewell tour or whatever. You know, he wants the kind of recognition and stuff. But I don't know. And the only other thing that's like
He
speaking
would
against this
want
for
the
me
Kobe year.
is
Like how I feel like that was kind of iconic that we wish we would have had from Jordan. Like last game of the season, like we know it's him going out and he goes and puts up 60 and like finishes off the game. Like I feel like that's what he wants. Like isn't that's how you want to go out? Like is Kobe
well,
like wrote
okay.
the script for it?
I'm gonna I'm gonna come back on
Aside
that a little
from like
bit.
50 games.
What we thought was MJ's last game was called the final shot, and it was one of the most iconic
I don't
shots in
know.
NBA history.
It's the
I mean,
Wizards.
he ended up playing 2 years for the Wizards after that, obviously, but
Well, not it was, and that's the thing too. It wasn't immediately after that. It was like 3 years later, wasn't it?
I just have a hard time seeing LeBron. I mean, other things that make me pro LeBron retiring is I just don't see him playing for less than a LeBron salary. That doesn't make sense to me that he would like go play for. I keep using them as an example, but like Golden State for the minimum, just to be like
Well,
the you know like they're like a role player and win a bunch of games and
what if it's
you
and
know
this might be the hottest take on here. What if he leaves and I know he's been talking like what's it Maverick Carter and them guys have been talking about like that Euro League that they want to create. What if he goes and all of a sudden he's the captain of the Paris team and tries to reincorporate like and all of a sudden just brings this European interest into some sort of like big three version of the NBA that they're going to try to create here in the next couple of years. So to me, that could be the possibility of him pulling a Ronaldo and just deciding to go play somewhere else for $1 billion with some other league.
possible. I think the greater likelihood is that he owns that team or is a part owner of that team
He already
or
owns teams. He owns Liverpool. Like he owns pieces of like 3 or 4 different teams.
yeah, I
So
know. But
yeah, I
I'm
can
saying
see.
if as the NBA expands into the rest of the world, I think it's a greater likelihood that he would own a piece of that team rather than play for them.
I feel like that's going to happen regardless. Like again, it's he's going
Maybe.
to have to copy Jordan and then like win something better than whatever the Hornets did when he had them. So I feel like there'll be that some sort of power play that he has to do to one up whoever he needs to one up. So, but no, I could see him doing that too. But I feel like his playing days could be. But again, as I was saying that, I was thinking like if this is his last year and he's healthy through the whole season, I feel like there'll be someone will drop like 2 or 3 weeks before the end of the season if the Lakers are out of contention that oh this is LeBron's last year, and then he'll like oh it is and then get the little mini farewell tour at the end. So I think you're right. He's going
Maybe.
to want that in some way. It's just how does he make that happen in a way that fits his exit that's best as possible for his
Yeah.
messaging.
And you know, obviously the Lakers are a big market and I feel like they're going to try to have some say in this too. He's going to feel obligated to coordinate with the Lakers how they go about, you know, announcing his retirement.
I realize we're talking about LeBron and the Lakers, and we have Eastern Conference Finals predictions. How did we get off on a tangent on LeBron? How did that happen?
Well. All right, so we got to pick East, huh? We got to pick East. I would say. So who? Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
Sure, I've got my 2 teams here, and sadly, once again, I feel like it's if we're splicing tape, I think this is the same pick that I had last year, and it's because this one team I already talked about it earlier. They were injured. If they would have been together the whole year and healthy, the Orlando Magic would have made the run. I feel like they would have been there near the end. And I also feel like this is the year that the Cavs make it to the conference finals. So I have the Magic and the Cavs. Do I need to hit pause?
That's a great take. That is a great take. I keep thinking that we do, but I think you know what? If they make their way out here, they're just gonna be part of the episode.
Chloe has been in my squeaky
Well.
chair, which I apologize for.
Well, I will say I like those picks. I'm not sold on the Magic this year, but maybe in years to come.
You said that last
year. Well, they did get better, so we'll see. But I'm gonna say the Knicks are gonna be one of them, and the other team. Oh, this is where it gets tough. I'm sorry, Cavs fans. I'm gonna say the Cavs do not make it out of the second round again, and it's gonna be Knicks Hawks.
Ooh.
And it's gonna be based on the way the standings fall. Like I'm not necessarily picking my two favorite teams or who I think are gonna be the two best teams out east, but it's just gonna be the way the standings fall, where it's like, maybe even if the Knicks are the best or the second best team in the conference this year, they're going to be like the 3 seed and therefore have to face, whoever sooner. And then therefore it's going to be a spicier second round. And, but I'm going to say that's my conference finals. And then do you want me to just, but before I go any further, one of my hot takes this year, I wouldn't, I think the Raptors are going to be a sneaky team to climb into the top 4 out east. I'm not saying conference finals, but they're going to be like the 4th best team out east.
Oh,
they're going to have the 4th best seed out east.
We're going to have to watch this one back because I looked at them. I had a long look at their roster. I was like, this is a barely play-in team. I have them as like not making it in the playoffs, but making it, they're a 9-10 team for me.
I mean, things that would have to break for them in order to do that. We would have to consider the Pacers not one of the more competitive playoff teams. The Bucks the same. The Pistons could be up there. I'm sorry, the Celtics as well in that category of just like teams that have been traditionally competitive recently, but are gonna kind of remain on the outskirts of like 5-6 play-in, maybe even below play-in. Same thing for the Heat, and then the Sixers as well are going to be just So I think the Cavs are going to be up there. I think the Knicks are going to be up there. I think the Pistons are going to be up there. I think the Magic for sure. The Sixers are a sneaky one because they could be the 1st seed if everybody's healthy, but they could be the 14th seed again. It's like anything could happen. Sorry, 13th. Anything could happen with them. Just based on health. So I'm gonna say that the Raptors are gonna be like a really sneaky high end playoff team out east. I'm not saying that they're gonna make
that's your big surprise. Finals.
Yeah, that's one of my big surprises. But yeah, but stemming off of that, I think the Knicks will be the Eastern Conference finalist to make it to the finals, and will face tiny drum roll the Thunder, who are going to try to repeat.
To me, I feel like again I got to go Homer. I'm doing this. I just feel like I'm a Minnesota fan who needs a championship, so I'm picking the Wolves over the Magic. We'll see. Surprises all the way, but playing a homer. That's why I'm wearing a Garnett jersey, for Pete's sake. So I wore this to the Bulls game when the Celtics came to town the first time. So I think you were with. Well, that's all.
A lot of casual fans just turned off this episode by the thought of a Magic T-Wolves NBA Finals.
Yeah, the NBA just turned it off. They just canceled our program.
I don't think that's got anybody else spinning in their seats. Oh, no. Man.
2 very small markets. Yeah. I don't see it
Between the two teams, like only one of those guys is like a top 10 player in the NBA. Oh
Hey,
my word!
it's top 5. That's next episode.
Well, but
We're gonna give
maybe I mean
the top 20
no,
players. We'll do that next
no,
episode.
I agree with you. Anthony Edwards could break the top 5, but I'm just saying between the two teams, what's the next best player between those two teams? We're talking like Paolo at like 18. What's the who's next? I'd have to look
Julius
it up.
is obvious. Like, I don't know where he falls.
Oh, give me Gobert. Gobert would rank higher than Julius Randle.
We'll discuss this next episode. If you've made it this far, I appreciate you guys for watching an hour.
Wait, before we go,
basketball chatter. What's up? What now?
Before we go, one more hot take. One more big surprise.
Okay.
The Nuggets are actually going to beat the Thunder and win the championship. I mean, I didn't even see it coming.
The Nuggets. All right.
Yeah. It's actually going to be the Nuggets that behead the giant monster out west.
All right. So Nuggets and Wolves. We're on par with our homerisms for
No,
our.
I'm still picking Thunder. I'm still picking Thunder as my champion, but the Nuggets are the big surprise. Like I said, not even I saw it coming. Big surprise.
Okay.
Can you tell it's late? Can you tell it's late in our respective cities?
This is
way past our bedtime.
Afternoon. You just have a photo room you make. Never mind. It's too late.
As he was saying, folks, if you've been listening this far, you are very dedicated. You are our number one fan. Even if the only fan, you're number one fan.
Thanks, Mom.
And thanks, Mom. We appreciate you stopping by. Certainly, we're going to try to be putting out more content, more hot takes on the Bucket Bros.
Yes, indeed. We'll see you guys next time. Hit that back cut. We'll see you again. Oh, my God. Turn it off. Turn it off.